So here we are on the 20th of Sivan, Hayom Yom. Hayom Yom. Okay, the Firak Rebbe tells us that among my grandfather's aphorisms, this is Rabbi Maharash, among his aphorisms, the following. The intellectual and emotional structure of the Chassid is consonant with his first Yechidus with the Rebbe, with his Rebbe. The first Yechidus is commensurate with the essence character of the Chassid. The Rebbe prescribes an order of avodah appropriate to the nature of the Chassid's essence character. Okay. Listen to Tanya. Page 911, near the bottom of the page, 27. And in Lakuti Amorim, near the top of page Pei Beis, 3 lines down. Okay, more. We've been doing this for a while. It must be because it takes a while for this to get into our pores and really get it. The concept of tzimtzum, which, as I mentioned, he doesn't say it here, but I mentioned, we who are learning Chabad Hasidus are learning tzimtzum lo kipashutai. Tzimtzum not in a simple meaning. It doesn't mean that God made himself small and he's now a teeny thing. No. It means that in the smallness is his allness, his paradox that we've been carrying with us. And he's giving us different ways, different slants, different metaphors, different angles to bring this into some sense of receptivity in our consciousness. 3 lines down. The boundedness, the boundaries, and the categorization of this word that we call olam, world, which we have mentioned more than once. Olam, ayin, vav, lamed, mem. Take out the ayin, you have ayin, lamed, mem, which is concealment. World, by definition, is a concealment. And this word, world, noifel al bechinas makom. We use that word, world, to describe place, right? Any place, from Atzilus on down, usually that's where we start, in Atzilus. It's a world, and therefore it represents a place. In addition to that, olam represents zman. These are the 2 dimensions of place, of world, 2 dimensions of world, place and time, specifically. Now, bechinas makom, what is place? These are the 6 directions: east, west, north, south, above, and below, which correspond to the 6 midos, as said through Yesod. Bechinas zman, and time, how do we indicate time? Over, hava, ve'osid, past, present, and future. So the 6 directions, north, south, east, west, up and down, and the dimensions of time, past, present, and future, this constitutes what we call olam, world. And it's a function of helam. It's a function of God's so-called concealment. All of these categories, they have no relevance at all in the level of God's holy midos. In other words, there are levels in godliness where midos are present but not yet defined. The first level that we usually use for this, although it's a lower level, is Atzilus, because upper than that are called Oilimus Ein Sof, worlds without end. But they're still called Oilimus. So in those levels, they're the source from which the delineation of actual measure of time and place will come. But at that level, as he said, Ela ein lehem shechus b'midas, this notion of these bechinas, these carved out, demarcated areas of 6 dimensions and 3 in place in 3 dimensions in time are not yet carved out, so to speak. Ki'im b'midas malchusay. Where does the carving out, that's the metaphor I'm using here, carving out, the dropping out, the instantiation, which is a word I use a lot, I know, and the actualization, so to speak, in a way that's tangible. Where does that come from? That comes from the 7th midah, which is the midah of God's malchus. Malchus kol olamim. It says, your kingdom is the kingdom of all worlds. In other words, and we turn it around, all worlds come from your malchus. Malchus is Borg Levado, just from there. And there, Shaykh Lamer, it's relevant to say, Shehu Yisborach Melech Lamaila Ad, in case that he is a king above without any limit, without any end, Ulamata Ad Ein Tachlis, and below without any boundedness and end at all in either up or down. So that's Malchus. He's Malchus Kol Olam. In our language of Tzimtzum, he's the king of the Tzimtzum. Olam Miloshin, hidden. He's the king over the hiddenness. In other words, or putting it another way, he hides his allness, and that sense of allness, which is his kingship, well, that sense of allness becomes his sense of kingship. He rules over with the midah of Malchus, bringing all of himself, right? If you imagine this Seder Stalshalis from him, he has these 10 spheros, and he has the 7 midos. They all flow down into Malchus. All of his power, his adnus, his rulership is channeled in Malchus, and that becomes the force which brings forth and rules all of the levels which we call worlds. He rules in the and up and below, and in all in north, south, east, and west, and up and down as well. Similarly, when we use the word Malchus to speak about God's dominion over time, we say Hashem Molech, Hashem did rule, Hashem Melech, Hashem does rule as a king, Hashem Yimloch, and he will rule, past, present, and future. Okay, so in the Nimsa, it comes out, Shechayas HaMokim, the entirety of the life force of what we call place, V'chein v'chiyas hazman, and the entirety of the life force which we call time, v'hisavusa ma'ayin l'yesh, and bringing them into being from nothing into something, v'kayumim kol zaman kiyumim, and they're keeping them in existence for as long as they are in existence, humaminus malchusi yisborach. It's from God's blessed midah of Malchus. And the name that we give to Malchus is Adnos, Adnoi, right? Adnos Baruch Hu. Ulefi shemidas ha-Malchusa yizborach miyuchedes b'mahusin v'yatzmusin yizborach b'tachlis ha-yichud. And since this attribute of God's kingship, may be blessed, is united in God's essence, in his very essence, his very self, Yisborach may be blessed, with a complete b'tachlis ha-yichud, with a complete unity, K'moshi Yisbor, as will be explained more at length later. But since that's a fact, that his Malchus is united with his essence, Hilchach, therefore, Gam b'chinas ha'makim b'hazman, therefore, even time and place are, at least internally, they're receiving the allness, they're receiving that which internally mevatels them. Mevatels meaning they don't disappear, but this is this paradox. They are very apparent, and they appear to be very separate, but they're infused with his infinity. So since they are infused with his infinity, even place and time, but they're actually or internally or essentially nullified in their existence in relation to his essence, if you could say such a thing, like the light of the sun in the sun. Right? It's our mashal, we've been using this, the Alter Rebbe has been using this the whole time. The sunlight is not the sun, But the sunlight contains the attribute of the sun. The attribute of the sun is to bring life to everything and to nurture everything. V'zehu shilav shem adnas v'shem havaya. And this is the interweavingness of the word adnas v'shem havaya. You'll see this if you have many Sephardic shuls, Sephardim, and when they have the pareches that covers the ark in other places, sometimes it's a picture on the wall. You'll see a picture of the large Yud K Vav K, Havaya, and in small letters Adnai, or vice versa. The large, that's in other words, the large Havaya is we're focusing on the infinity and the essentialness of Hashem as it's enclosed in and concealed in Adnus, in his kingship. And then the other way around, where we're focusing on Adnai, which is the kingship, and the majesty of the multiplicity of things, but don't lose sight of the fact that the singularity of Hashem is invested in it. Ki Shem Havaya, Maira, the Shem Havaya, Yud Ke Vav Ke, shows on Shehula Maila Min Hazman, that he's higher than time. Shehu Haya Habavayya, he's past, present, and future all at once. Karega, in a moment. Karega Achas, in one moment, all at once. As is written in the section of the Zohar, Raya Mahemna, in Parshas Pinchas. And also above, he's above place. Not only he's above time, but he's above place. Kihu Mahava Tomid is called Bechinas Mokim, because he is bringing into being continually the whole Inyan of place. Kula Milamayla Ad Lamata, the entirety of it, from above to below, Ula Dalit Sitrin, and to in the four directions, north, south, east, and west. And that, in the middle of the thought, of course, is today's Tanya. So, don't think that the multiplicity is in essence multiple. It's in essence singular. And don't think that the singularity contradicts the possibility and the actuality of multiplicity. It's all one. Hashem Echad. All right. Questions, comments? My screen is changing, so somebody's doing something.
It's a good reminder when you think things are out of control and you don't know what's next.
It's a reminder that they are always in control, in God's control.
Right, yeah. Right, exactly.
Happening just the way it's supposed to be. Anybody else? Comments? Questions? Well, that's a beautiful bechein. A beautiful bechein. This is happening because God is meaning it to be happening. And we know ultimately the meaning that we'll extract from this is the victory of light over darkness and the redemption. Should be now. We can feel the brinkmanship, I think. Anybody else? Okay, then if not, we will walk the walk and talk the talk. Till we meet again tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.